What up, guys? Welcome to the channel, Bows and Bikes. This channel is going to focus around mountain biking and bow hunting. Huge bow hunting guy. Love Matthews bows. I am actually have a bow shop in my house that we'll do some videos on here shortly. A little background on myself. Been a mechanic for about 15 years now. I was a heavy engine and trans tech for a Chrysler dealership for quite some time. Worked at a race car shop for about 2 years, and now I am in engineering for Chrysler. We're gonna focus mainly on this channel on mountain bikes. We might touch base on some dirt bikes, maybe even a little bit of car stuff here and there if anyone's interested, and also bow hunting. Just cannot get enough of bow hunting. We'll even maybe do some hunting videos and working and wrenching on bows. Today's project is going to be a CYC conversion. It's going to be the Gen 3 Stealth, and we're going to be putting it on a 2023 stun jumper. So what we got here is a little layout of everything I got going on today. Kind of just was going over some of the parts, seeing exactly what's out there. This video is mainly going to be put together for the fact that there's a lot of information out there about these kits. However, a lot of the information is put the bike together and beat a Sure-On. That's what everyone does. No one actually puts this up against like a Levo or any of the other big manufactured mountain bikes. So I'm running the Minimax battery. This is the 52 volt, 10 amp hour, 520 watt hour 50S pack. And this is the 4 amp hour charger. Charge the battery up a little bit faster. Here is our unit. Was just going over a few things today on it just to make sure, you know, I'm not fumbling around. One of the other big things that I'm seeing with a lot of these videos are these shims. Guys are not really understanding what to do with these shims, or they're not really sure what to put the placement in. So another big thing is that guys are trying to work through and figure out is the understanding of the bottom bracket. So even for me, doing mountain bikes, understanding bottom bracket and everything like that, today I came out here, checked some stuff out, and just to give you guys an idea, got a set of calipers, and we are going to mic the bottom of this real quick. So we got a 73 mil bottom bracket, which that's pretty standard. And with this piece on here, I then measured in here. So knowing that our bottom bracket is 73 millimeters, when you mic into here, and this is not like tightened down, so it's not going to be exact, it comes out to 83. So when you do your shims, you know that you're going to add 10 mils of shim to achieve the 83 millimeter gap between the motor. Another thing that guys are confused with is where to put these shims at. There's not actually a exact way to put it. When you put this in here, just real quick show this before we move forward. There's no shim in there, and if you see, my sprocket is almost hitting the chainstay. So obviously we're gonna put some shimming in there, which we're probably gonna put the thicker of the two in. That way we can move that sprocket away from the chainstay and have a safe distance moving forward. All of that's gonna be different from model to model. No, you know, every chainstay distance is gonna be different. Even on this Polygon N9, that chainstay distance is going to be different than the stump jumper. So that's kind of one of the confusing things that I see. The other thing is we're going to want to make sure we put a quality grease in there to protect those threads. down the road you do decide to put this bike back to a bicycle or your bike, so on and so forth. So I got this kit through Electrified Bikes. They were super nice, helped me out. We discussed everything. I shared my concerns with them over a lot of this, on the fact that a lot of these parts, there's not too much information in the field of making this an e-bike and not a dirt bike. I'm still not too sure if I'm going to run the throttle on this or not, but we're gonna try to figure that out as we go along here. We're gonna work with that today. Sorry, I'm learning camera skills still. We're gonna figure this out today. Everything should be pretty straightforward. You really shouldn't have to be a rocket science to do this. And yeah, so let's get started. I'm gonna have to move a few things, and we will put the motor in first. So my biggest goal with this is to keep it light, nimble, not a Shuron, because if I wanted a Shuron, I would just buy one of those. So we're gonna fit the motor first. And again, knowing that we have an 83 millimeter space to work with, our bottom bracket is 73 millimeters, then we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna do 10 mils. So if you mess around with these and take your measurements, you will eventually figure out what one is 10 mil. And so looking here, I don't know if you guys can see that, the largest and the smallest equals 10 millimeter. I don't believe this small one is gonna get us away from that chainstay safely. So we're gonna go ahead and put the bigger one on the motor and see where that places us at, and then we'll go from there. And I'll move you guys in so you can get a better view. All right, so we're gonna take the motor assembly, we're gonna put our biggest shim on. We're gonna put this in here, and I'm gonna see if I can get you guys down here a little bit better to see what we're working with. So if you guys see now, we have a good distance for our chain to chainstay. That's probably about close to what factory was. And again, that's with the larger shim in there. So you guys are gonna go forward from here, and then we're gonna take our bracket and our smaller shim and our new bottom bracket cup, and I'm gonna flip this bike around so now we can get a better view on the back side of that. Down here, we have where our bracket's gonna go in at, and we know that we're gonna put our mount in there with our new shim. This is your new bottom bracket cup. This is gonna go in, but we're gonna put our shim in first before we put our final piece of our bracket on. Also too, I like to Loctite everything beforehand in doing so. And also too, we're going to add some grease, or you could use grease, you could use anti-seize. I feel like the anti-seize might honestly be a better option down here, just because if there is any play in anything, the anti-seize is gonna protect the threads, I feel, more than grease would. But again, everybody's gonna do something different. There's not an actual one way and only way. So now we're gonna grab our small bracket, we're gonna grab our bolts off the table. Another thing that I feel a lot of people are trying to figure out with this is there's really no torque spec anywhere on their website, or really even any instructions to a lot of this. So this guy goes back into here, And I already pre-Loctited these screws. You're not gonna wanna torque them down yet. You're gonna kinda wanna leave them loose. Just to get this in there and kind of started. And then you're gonna take that shim, and again, leaving everything on the looser side, you're gonna probably wanna apply some grease or anti-seize there. I'm just gonna put a little bit of anti-seize on. And then we're gonna go ahead and put this through there like so. Bring this in until it's a little snug. And again, I just use anti-seize. It wasn't anything too insane amount, just enough to put a little coating in there. Now, one of my concerns with this was, this motor is going to be contacting the bottom of the frame. There's a few companies that make these nice rubber frame protectors. I got this one off of Amazon. It was like 16 bucks. It's actually pretty nice. So that way when this is put up, it's going to contact that and not my frame and mar my frame all up. The other thing is, I'm gonna just torque this going off of like what a standard bottom bracket would be through, like, say a SRAM. I believe even on like a Dove bottom bracket, this is the bottom bracket that came out of it, it's 50 Newton meters. So that's what we're gonna torque that to. And we are going to use a proper bottom bracket cup installer, and again, nothing special, it's just one off of Amazon. And we are going to Newton meters, and we're going to put it to 50. So suspenseful, I know. Okay, and then I would hold the motor up kind of where you're going to want it, put that on. I'm going to bring that down. Cool. All right. And then going to tighten up these bolts all the way. All right. So now we're on to the spline and crank arms. So I'm sure this isn't the only video a lot of you will be looking up. So there is a spline on this side that you have to make sure is fully inserted, and we're going to go over that now. There is a top bracket, but I want to fit the spindle first. After we fit the spindle, then we will go ahead and do that top motor mount bracket. So with this spindle, if you see, these are the splines that are going to go through the sprocket side, and those are the ones that go to the torque sensor, I believe is what I read. That's going to go through, and then we're going to shim this out. So that's going to be the next step. So we got our spindle, put some anti-seize on it, and then as you insert that, you will see that these splines here have to get inserted far enough to where this fully seats up against this portion right here. So you want to make sure you're completely leveled out. Now we're going to turn the bike back around again, and we are going to set up everything for the crank arms. We're going to put our preload on our spindle. Now, some kits used to come with an aluminum spacer that was a preset distance, but I'm thinking they realize that there's a large variation in part sizes. Everything is going to be different. So now it comes with like a nicer shim kit so that you can select the amount of preload you want and give the shoulder it needs for the crank arms. So that's what we're going to do here now. I'm going to flip the bike around. All right, so now we got some threads down here. And if you look, just like any other bottom bracket of modern times, this is your preload adjuster. So basically you don't want to have a ton of in and out movement on this shaft. So this is what's going to go onto here and set that gap. I'm going to also put a little bit of anti-seize. Again, I'm not using a whole lot, but just enough on there to protect everything. And you don't want to kill this. You're only doing this to set side to side preload. If you overdo it, you're going to put a drag on things. So as we tighten this, we are going to check the drag as we move forward. So I haven't really set like a whole lot, but I'm going to kind of just go a little extreme. So like right there is pretty tight and there's quite a bit of drag. So I'm going to back it off. And some bikes, you might have to crank down on this a little to help pull this through. They actually put a little screw hole in here for you to put an Allen in to tighten it. I don't see where that's needed, and you're not killing this thing. So that feels about good, and we are going to torque it down right there. So the next step from here is going to be the crank arms. And then I'll show you the shoulder that they were talking about for getting the distance from here to the crank arm. So the crank arm isn't just directly against that. Okay. So we'll grab one crank arm, and I think obviously there's a right and a left, but I wasn't sure if there was a difference between that. So when you put this on, the crank arm is going to go in, and this is like the old school bolts, not on like newer stuff, but you're going to have a shoulder in there that is going to carry the load when you torque it down. So again, like I was saying, there used to be a large aluminum one of these they used to include in the kit. Now what they do is actually give you some nice like shimming stock, so that way every crank arm can be custom fitted to the bike. Basically, you're not going to have one that's too tight or too loose. Given everything is parts variance is different around the world and different from manufacturer to manufacturer, this way you can get your distance more precise rather than just a one fits all kind of deal. So I found for mine that the largest and thinnest fit. So we're going to go ahead and pop on the arm now on this side. Go ahead and put this in. I'm sure there's a torque spec, but never in my life have I torqued a arm before. And if you, again, once you do all of this, you can make sure you keep turning everything to make sure everything feels nice and free and smooth. You don't want anything binding, causing anything, and everything feels real nice. So we'll go ahead and move the camera, and then we will go ahead and flip the bike around again. Then we're going to go ahead and fit this side of the crank arm. Now this side has a nice machined area for the crank to ride on. So I'm just going to run a single thin. I don't even think you probably have to run one on this side, but I'm just going to do it just to make it nicer. Again, go down. And these are also marked right and left on here for people that have never done crank arms. Kind of a big deal to get that right. We're gonna go ahead and torque this down. This side isn't as critical as the other side because there's no load being given here. On the other side, that's where your preload is happening. So this side isn't as crucial for everything, but you know, if you want to have it tight, you want to have it shimmed the best you can, and you see everything moves nice and smooth. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on our top motor mount. And with that in the kit, you get the bracket, which is gonna go here. You get some nice rubber supports that can go in. Now, if your motor is contacting your frame, you can put these in down there, but again, I already like have that on my frame. So we're gonna use this one up here to protect the tube. And then again, tube sizes vary, motor distance varies. So you have a set of long and shorts that you're gonna use. Also down here, I'll get you guys in a little closer. Down here are the screws that contact the motor mounts. You're gonna loosen those on both sides so that you can move this to basically pivot it this way or this way, depending on where you're at for that tube angle. So let's go ahead and get that part installed next. All right, so off camera, I had checked to see the smaller ones work for me. Again, everyone's gonna be different. And then the rubber piece. So you're gonna go ahead and place the rubber piece between the motor mount and the frame. And then we're gonna go ahead and install that screw here. And it can be a little fiddly. A lot of the other videos I've seen from some other channels, they all fight with that and deal with it. So that's just barely started. You don't want to crank it down too much. That way you're going to end up running into the screw probably not fitting on this side of the motor mount. I don't believe that I ran it in too tight, but we're going to find out right now. I only started it by a few threads. Also too, once I get this started, I'll bring the camera back over so you guys can see. If I can get this started right there. Oh, no. All right, so we got those started. So let me grab you guys off of here real quick and we're gonna go over a little bit of everything we just did there. All right, so we have our threads started in there. Everything's looking good. We put the rubber in here to protect our frame. And then on this other side, a lot of guys will run the wires in through there. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do that yet. It seemed like it was kind of crammed for me. I'm gonna take a look at that here in a second and see if I can find a better routing. If not, the other thing too is you might want to put some protective coating, you know, like this stuff on here to protect as it moves up and down and doesn't chafe the wire into there. All right, so off camera, I messed with that and I did get those wires to get in there and fit a lot better. So again, you're not gonna crank these things to the moon, but you're also gonna wanna kind of have them equal from side to side. You're not gonna wanna have one way tighter than the other. And being that this is a thinner metal, I'm sure it is gonna bend and kind of contour the frame a little. You're gonna want to, again, equally keep this in. Now there is Loctite on here, so you can kind of use that as your gauge to see how much you're going off of. I'm kind of just going off of turns right now with my Allen tool. And again, you're not here to destroy this thing on here. It's just mainly there to keep the motor tension up towards the frame and not have all that tension riding on your bottom bracket. So once we get these all tight, which I think that's pretty good, then you're going to tighten down these side Allens that go into here. I'm gonna grab a longer tool for that. You're gonna wanna tighten these back down so that they're not pivoting on you. One over here. Okay, cool. So, again, I got the Mini Mac battery for this. I wanted to keep it as tight, compact, clean as I could. So we're basically ready for a battery, and we're also ready to do our rest of our wiring. This does have a speed sensor. The speed sensor is also the Bluetooth module for the app on your phone. I'm not gonna use the speed sensor. I don't care to know how fast I'm going. So we're gonna route that in a different location, and we're going to route the display and the hand throttle. I don't really see myself using the hand throttle that much. I might just put it on for the video and probably end up taking it off again. This is a mountain bike. It's not a motorcycle. It's not a dirt bike. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna test fit the battery. I'm gonna show you guys what I kind of did with that. So again, we're using the Mini Max battery. Electrified Bike Co. has this awesome mount that's actually designed to go on the back of the seat here. I found that mine can fit right down here really well. It's super clean look. And I added a smaller Velcro strap down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the battery in here. So I went ahead and installed that off camera real fiddly. No one wants to see that. So Mini Max battery is in here. I had a Power Hobby RC car Velcro battery hold down that I put in there. So went around the frame to the bottom of that, and then also went from the bottom of the bag to the frame. Battery connectors down. We're not going to plug it in. But speaking of battery connectors, that's kind of what I want to bring out on my next topic. One of my concerns that I have with this kit is I'm not a too big fan of XT90s. Anybody that's heavy in RC car game knows XT90s are not the way to go anymore. There's 5 or 6 way better options, but I'm going to test it with the way it is, check everything, and see how it works for me. But one suggestion that I did want to make is anybody in the RC car game knows that the QS8s are a way superior connector. They can be a pain to solder, but if you have done them a few times and you have a quality soldering setup and the right means to do it, then it's great. These are just much larger, so this would be your battery side to just give you a difference in size here. I mean, it's absolutely comical, the size difference. Any speedrun RC car guy knows that these are the way to go. Just go on YouTube, look at anybody that's doing any RC car stuff like this, and they're going to be running that. It's end of story. That's just what everybody uses. Not a lot of people run XT90s anymore in anything that makes power. So got our battery installed, battery cables right here, which seems to actually be decent. The battery cable that's coming off the motor definitely seems to be a lot of a heavier gauge wire than the wire coming off the battery. So we're gonna look now at our Bluetooth module. And again, this Bluetooth module, this is your speed sensor and your Bluetooth module in one. If I'm curious to see what my speed is, I'm just gonna run a GPS unit or have my phone clipped to my handlebars. I'm not trying to see how fast I'm going all the time. The Bluetooth module part of it seems pretty cool to me. So I'm just gonna probably end up fixing this somewhere away from the unit, away from my suspension components. And that's another thing too I didn't really touch on, but anything that's going to be moving, like the linkage is back here. The linkage does come forward. I don't see it contacting any of this, but it's definitely something I'm going to keep an eye on. You guys want to make sure that like anything that has the ability to be mounted in more than one way is not contacting the suspension. So we're going to go ahead and figure this out real quick. And in the book, it does show where these all get connected in at. All the connectors are different. Again, I'm not too concerned to knowing how fast I'm going. These connectors can kind of be a pain. The nice thing is like usually companies color code these to make them a little bit easier to determine which direction they're going. So that's connected. So I also chose to go with the smaller display. I just thought like the smaller sleek display looked better than having like an iPhone on your handlebars. I'm not really looking to have anything like that. So I went with the smaller display. The throttle, they have many different options of throttles. They have many different options of display. Again, these are all up to you guys. You can make that decision. You can choose what you want. This can go on the right or left side of the bike. Same with this. I feel that a throttle should go on the same size as a throttle. So we're gonna go ahead and get the wires ran up, and then we will go from. Also too, forgot to throw on some pedals, getting ready to start wiring up. So obviously there's hundreds of pedal options out there. Probably my favorite pedal for the money, Crank Bros. These are the Stump ones, I believe. I think the other one says the name. Yeah, Stump ones. They're just a really good pedal for the money. They're not, you know, they're obviously plastic. They're not aluminum by any means, but they're lightweight, great traction on your shoe, and they're huge. I like a large area. You know, start to slide off the pedal. You got a lot of contact points to put your foot back on. All right, so we're gonna look at this Bluetooth module, figure out where we can mount it, and that's what we're gonna do next. All right, so we went over a few of the wiring connections. I, off camera, kind of just went over all of this and ran some zip ties, batteries hooked up. For now, I just put the Bluetooth module here. I'm not really sure what I want to do with that yet. And this is going up to our handlebars. This is going to be for our display and for our throttle. Again, I like the small display. I think it looks nice. It looks factory. It's not a honker like iPhone on your bars. Again, I'm not gonna run the throttle, and I don't even feel there's really any like clean way to go about putting it on there and making it look nice. But it's just hooked up right now. I haven't set anything yet. And we're just pop that thing on to 3. And again, the throttle's on and she works. So we'll still gotta put the chain on and go over all of that. And in our next video, we will be going and riding this on an actual mountain bike trail. I think my main takeaway from this and why I wanted to make this video is CYC put out a video of putting on a Santa Cruz, and it was really cool. And as soon as they were done with it, they took it to a bike park, which I got excited because I was like, cool, we get to see this thing in action. And they just race a Chiron down a dirt road. There's definitely a market for that, and I see the market for that, and I understand what they're going after. But going and looking at like a Levo Turbo, which I had a 2022, I just sold at the beginning of this year. I picked up this stump jumper, and I got this on sale for $3,100 out the door. This kit that's on here is in terms more performance than what a Levo can offer. This kit with a battery, no discounts, nothing like that, is gonna run you like $15.80 out the door. That's the kit, your battery, the battery holder, and the charger. So putting that all together, you're only like $4,700 into an entire assembly like this. This is more performance than a Levo in my mind. And when something breaks, I'm not at the hands of a dealership to hold me back telling me, oh, a motor's $2,000, oh, a battery's $1,000. I can repair this as I want and order parts and upgrade it as I go. If I want a bigger battery, I'll put a bigger battery on it. If I want a smaller battery, I'll do that. So again, everyone has different needs. I just think this kit has a lot of potential to be cool for a mountain bike and not a dirt bike or a Shuron. So we'll test it, we'll see how it goes, and then I'm gonna talk with Electrified Bike Co., see what they're about, and see if I can get them to possibly hook me up on one of their pro kits. I do have a Polygon N9 I just picked up off a marketplace for cheap, and you know, that's 170 mil front, 160 rear, so that would be kind of cool to go a little out of control on. So going forward, we'll see how this all works. We'll do a quick review over everything we did today. Again, just go over, check all these screws, make sure everything's tight, guys. You know, no one needs to be getting hurt over some loose screws. I didn't videotape the wiring because everyone's bike's different. Everyone's wiring is going to be different. There's really no way of showing that to making it worthwhile for everybody else. The kit looks really clean. I'm super excited to take it out and try it out and see how it's going to work. It's really crappy out today, so I'm not going to be able to get out and see how it all goes. Still got to pop the chain back on. I'm sure this cassette is going to leave the chat pretty soon with the power of this motor, and I'm sure the chain is going to end its life soon as well. So yeah, if you guys got any questions, feel free to reach out, and we're gonna grow this channel, and hopefully I can do some more cool builds like this, and maybe even you know, who knows. Also too, I am a huge aftermarket Matthews bow guy. I am currently selling gas bowstrings. I can place orders for anybody. You can contact me, you can come to me, we can build your bow, restring it, and tune it together in person. I'm based out of Michigan, so we're gonna do some Matthews build videos coming up soon. I have a friend of mine that just purchased a lift. We're gonna throw a set of gas strings on it and tune it in for him. So let me know if there's anything else you guys would like to see. And again, any questions, throw them in the comments, and I'd would love to help out. Thanks so much. Peace out, guys.